I'm recording this message on Sunday evening, September 20th, 2015. And although it's Sunday, I did participate in 2 conference calls with representatives of the administration concerning the end of the federal fiscal year that's looming on September 30th, 2015. Congress, as you know from both the media and from information we've made available, has failed to enact a single appropriations bill yet this year. In addition to that, sometime within the next 30 days, Congress has to increase the debt limit, or the United States will slip into a technical default. There are only 5 working days left that Congress will be in session between now and September 30th. One of those days will be the day that His Holiness the Pope will be here, and I find it very hard to believe there'll be much work in Congress on that day. In other circumstances, we could look forward to a continuing resolution covering these kind of short-term issues until we get to a larger bill to cover the rest of the fiscal year. I believe that the administration is signaling that they are very concerned about a continuing resolution, and the President has indicated that he will not sign even a continuing resolution unless it is a clean resolution with no language on Planned Parenthood and no language changing the content of the Iranian negotiations. All in all, it looks to me like if the Congress can actually get around to passing something, if it's not to the President's liking, we face serious concerns in the next 2 weeks dealing with our financing and support for public and community transportation. Tomorrow, we'll be advising our members across the country to take note of these situations and to prepare as best they can to get by if there is no federal funding flowing through the normal channels. We don't actually have a strategy or anything to offer anyone relative to the debt ceiling. It will be impossible under these conditions to even get short-term or borrowed money to help with this situation because the financial markets will begin to react so negatively to these events probably in the week ahead. So I would hope that you and those you serve will be being prepared for the outcomes of what will happen if we don't have any progress on these fronts. And I'm very regretful that Congress has decided to approach its responsibilities in such a haphazard way. Over the last 20 years, I've been amazed at some of the things we've seen here in Washington, especially as it concerns the behavior of Congress. Although we've made a lot of progress in a very positive bipartisan way over many issues, from time to time, our events and the things that are important to us get caught up in these larger political games. In this case, games have significant consequences for all of us. And I expect that the next 10 days will be very difficult for our members and actually for all of us should Congress fail to enact an increase in the debt limit. I think we can assume, based on what I heard today, that the President is resolute in not wanting to give any ground this time on any of these issues. I think it's also complicated in light of the approaching election year as well. So we can expect that the next week to 10 days will be very difficult and very trying, and they will have profound consequences for all of the American people, and especially for our folks who are trying to deliver important services in the communities they call home. We're going to do all we can to let you know what happens and the information that's out there as it comes forward. But I think that there's very little we can do at this stage to influence the events that are circulating in this particular set of circumstances. I know that we've been having good conversations with our delegates over the last several weeks about the future of our industry and the future work of our association. Now, as I look at my own situation coming to the end of my time here, I can only say that the issue that we have to face for the future concerns one that will be more political. Although we've had some involvement in the political process, more in the last several years than in the past, more involvement in elections and more involvement in fundraising for candidates, I suspect we're going to have to do much more of that, as will the rest of the people in our industry, if we can hope to avoid these kinds of situations in the future. And last but not least, I think we have to figure out what we can do to encourage more transit systems and people to be active in the political process so that their voices are heard before people come to Washington and that their concerns are known and that they are given a higher priority by those who represent them. In the last several years, dealing with Congress, we've been reminding people, especially our members, that Congress is supposed to represent them. And because they receive some public money to accomplish some of their goals, it does not make them invisible, nor should it make them silent when issues of significance arise, like those that will be arising in the next week or so, that affect the work that they do every day. So I would encourage you, as I will encourage them, to take a minute in the next couple of days and drop an email or a phone call or something to their member of Congress to say, hey, I certainly hope that you're taking into consideration the needs we have in providing transportation, often to people who are seniors and those in need, as you move forward with the deliberations concerning the end of this fiscal year. And that we hope, in a very non-political way, that you'll put people first in these discussions and deliberations. I think it's safe to do that without saying that we're lobbying or doing something political. But we do need those kinds of reminders, and I hope that at least all of you will make that effort in the week ahead. So what we can expect is to watch carefully to see what happens and hope that our concerns will be the concerns of others in Congress. We are not alone in this situation. There are many others who are concerned as well. And I believe that the administration is very concerned about the impact as well. But it's very clear to me, having been around the Obama administration for a long time, and also on my own time participated with them in the last two elections, that this somehow is different. They are extremely more militant about making no concessions than I've ever seen them before or heard them before. And for that reason, I expect it could be much more difficult. So I hope you'll think about that in the week ahead. I hope you'll consider jotting down a word or two to your representatives. I hope that you'll also remind them of the important work that goes on in community and public transit and in public health and in daycare and in Social Security and in Medicare and in Medicaid, and how all of these people that are dependent on these services and these people who have earned their right to these services won't be put aside for some partisan political issue. That's about all we can do, other than cross our fingers, hope, and if you like, and if you're inclined to do, pray for the well-being of our country in this time. We're going to need that kind of attention, and we'll probably need those prayers in the weeks ahead. It will be a very interesting and difficult passage, and I hope that at the end we'll see our way through to something better. But in all likelihood, this has now become the pattern of behavior here, and it's going to take something more than that to get the kind of changes that return this to a much more normal process and a normal way of doing business. So stay tuned, And be aware that a lot can happen, and let's keep our fingers crossed. Thanks. I'll be around this week if you'd like to talk. Let me know. Good luck, good evening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.